The warning lights flashed red across the bridge of the New Horizons as Captain Jake Morrison gripped his command chair. The ship shook violently as another wave of gravitational distortion hit them like a massive invisible hand. Sparks flew from the control panels while the crew worked frantically at their stations. "Kate, what's our engine status?" Jake called out to his chief engineer over the noise of groaning metal and failing systems. "Kate." Sullivan wiped sweat from her forehead as she checked her readings. "Not good, Captain. The gravity anomaly is tearing our engines apart. We're losing power fast." The ship lurched again, throwing several crew members against their consoles. Dr. Lisa Parker, the chief science officer, held onto her station while her equipment scattered across the floor. She had been studying the star charts just minutes before, excited about their survey mission to the Kepler 442 system. Now those same charts showed a massive gravitational disturbance that hadn't been there on any previous scans. "How is this possible?" Lisa shouted over the alarms. "There was nothing in our database about gravitational anomalies in this sector." Pilot Ryan Clark struggled with the controls as the ship spun out of control. "Whatever it is, it came out of nowhere. One second we were cruising normally, the next second it felt like we flew into a black hole." Commander Ben Hayes, the military liaison, activated the emergency communication system. "All hands, prepare for emergency landing procedures. This is not a drill." The ship's medical officer, Dr. Alex Turner, was already moving through the corridors, checking on crew members and preparing his medical bay for potential injuries. He had served on dozens of ships and been through many emergencies, but the violent shaking of the New Horizons was testing even his steady nerves. Emma Davis, the communications officer, frantically worked her console trying to send out a distress signal. "I can't get a clear signal out, Captain. The gravitational field is interfering with all our communications." Jake made a quick decision. "Ryan, find us the nearest planet. We need to set down immediately before we lose all power." "There's a planet about 2 million kilometers away," Ryan replied, his hands flying over the navigation controls. "It's showing as habitable, but I'm picking up some strange energy readings." "Strange how?" Jake asked. "High energy discharges across the surface. Looks like massive electrical storms or something similar." Kate's voice came through the intercom from the engine room. "Captain, we've got maybe 10 minutes of power left. After that, we're flying dead weight. Take us down, Ryan. Best you can do." The New Horizons broke through the atmosphere of the unknown planet with its hull glowing red hot. The ship's emergency systems kicked in, deploying heat shields and atmospheric brakes. Through the viewports, the crew could see a scarred landscape below them, marked by deep craters and strange glowing patches. "Those aren't storms," Lisa said, studying her sensors. "Those energy readings are weapons fire." Before anyone could respond, the ship hit the ground hard. The impact threw everyone forward as the New Horizons skidded across the rocky surface for nearly a kilometer before finally coming to a stop. Emergency lighting cast everything in a red glow as the main power systems failed completely. Jake was the first to speak after the crash. "Sound off, everyone. Report injuries." One by one, the crew checked in. Dr. Turner had a cut on his forehead. Emma had bruised ribs, and several others had minor injuries, but everyone was alive. The ship, however, was in bad shape. Kate's voice crackled through the damaged intercom. "Captain, I need to inspect the engines, but from what I can see, we're not flying anywhere soon. The gravitational stress cracked the main power core housing. How long for repairs?" Jake asked. "If we can find the right materials and replacement parts, maybe 2 months, maybe longer." Jake nodded calmly. "Ben, take a team and secure the perimeter. Lisa, I want a full analysis of our environment. Emma, keep trying to get a signal out." As the crew began their tasks, they started to notice things about their new surroundings. The air was breathable but carried a strange metallic taste. The sky had an odd purple tint, and in the distance they could see flashes of bright light, followed by rumbling sounds that definitely weren't thunder. Ben returned from his reconnaissance with a troubled expression. "Captain, we've got a problem. There's wreckage everywhere out there. Looks like we landed in the middle of some kind of battlefield." "Recent?" Jake asked. Very recent. Some of the debris is still smoking. Dr. Turner finished treating the crew's injuries and joined the discussion. I found something interesting while checking our medical supplies. The background radiation levels are elevated, but not dangerously so. It's like being near a nuclear reactor that's been running for years. Lisa looked up from her portable scanner. The energy signatures I'm detecting are unlike anything in our databases. Whatever technology is being used here, it's not human. Emma suddenly got excited at her communication station. I'm picking up transmissions. Multiple sources, very complex. The computer is trying to translate, but it's going to take time. Jake walked to the main viewport and looked out at the alien landscape. In the distance, he could see more flashes of light and what looked like explosions. Occasionally, shapes moved across the horizon, too far away to identify, but clearly not. Natural. Looks like we're not alone, he said quietly. Ryan joined him at the viewport. Should we be worried, Captain? Jake considered the question. He had been in combat zones before during his military service. The signs were unmistakable. This was an active war zone. But his crew needed to focus on survival and repairs, not panic about things they couldn't control. We'll take it one step at a time, Jake replied. First, we set up a secure base camp. Then we figure out what's happening here and how to get home. As if to emphasize his point, a massive explosion lit up the horizon, followed by a sound like thunder that went on for several seconds. The crew watched through the viewports as alien aircraft of some kind streaked across the sky, pursuing each other with weapons that left trails of colored light. Dr. Turner shook his head. Looks like we picked a bad neighborhood to break down. And Jake smiled grimly. Could be worse. At least the air is breathable. The crew got to work setting up their emergency camp around the crashed ship. They had food for several weeks, basic medical supplies, and enough equipment to establish temporary shelter. As they worked, the sounds of distant battle continued. But none of them seemed particularly concerned. They had survived the crash, they had shelter, and they had each other. For humans from Earth, that was enough to work with. The alien war raging around them was just another problem to solve. 3 days had passed since the crash, and the human crew had settled into a routine. They had established a perimeter around the New Horizons using salvaged materials and created a basic camp with sleeping areas, a medical station, and a communications hub. The distant sounds of battle had become background noise, like traffic in a busy city. Jake was reviewing their supply inventory when Ben came running from the outer perimeter. Captain, we've got movement. A group of beings approaching from the east. They don't look human. The crew gathered their weapons and took defensive positions, but Jake ordered them to remain calm. Let's see what they want before we start shooting. The group that emerged from behind a cluster of twisted metal wreckage was unlike anything the humans had ever seen. They walked on 2 legs but were taller and thinner than humans, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the strange light. Their leader wore what appeared to be military armor, though it was battered and scorched. The alien leader stepped forward and made a series of clicking sounds. Emma quickly activated her translation device, and after a moment a mechanical voice spoke in English. Please, we mean no harm. We seek shelter from the endless war. I am Commander HFY of the Zephyrian Empire. Jake stepped forward, his rifle lowered but ready. I'm Captain Jake Morrison. This is my crew. What's your situation? Commander HFY seemed surprised by Jake's calm tone. The alien's voice shook as the translator converted his words. You ask as if this is normal conversation. Do you not understand where you are? This is the cursed world of Zerion Prime, the battleground where warriors come to die. Dr. Turner moved forward with his medical kit. Some of your people look injured. Mind if I take a look? HFY stared at the human doctor in disbelief. You would offer aid to strangers in this place of death? That's what doctors do, Alex replied simply, already examining a wounded Zephyrian who had a deep gash across his arm. As Dr. Turner worked, Jake continued talking with Commander HFY. How long has this fighting been going on? 3 of your years, HFY said, his whole body trembling. 3 years of constant battle. The Krillian Collective and my people have been destroying each other on this world. The very ground drinks blood, the air tastes of death. Lisa looked up from her scanner. The soil composition is definitely altered by the weapons fire. Lots of exotic particles and radiation traces. You speak of it like a science project, Dexhai said, his voice rising in pitch. This world is cursed. The plants grow strange. The animals flee or die. Even the rocks crack from the violence. Ryan had been listening from his position near the communication equipment. Sounds like a pretty standard war zone to me. The Zephyrian commander stared at him. Standard? Young one, I have fought in 17 different conflicts across the galaxy. I have seen death in many forms. But this place this place is different. It changes you. It breaks minds and souls. Emma continued working on the translation software, picking up fragments of other alien communications. I'm getting more signals. Looks like there are a lot of different groups out there, all talking about fear and survival. Commander Dexhai nodded grimly. Many species have tried to establish bases here. The Vorthan Trade Federation, the Nexus Explorers, even the hardy Cronin miners. All fled within days. Some went mad from the constant violence. Others simply disappeared. Kate emerged from under the ship where she had been working on repairs. Well, we're not going anywhere for a while, so we might as well make the best of it. Make the best of it? Dexhai repeated. You speak as if this is a minor inconvenience. Dr. Turner finished bandaging the wounded Zephyrian's arm. There you go, good as new. Try to keep it clean and come back in a few days so I can check on it. The wounded alien looked at his arm in amazement, then at Dr. Turner. You healed me! In the middle of the death world, you healed me. It's just a cut, Alex said. Nothing serious. Commander Dexhai gathered his people around him and spoke, in rapid clicking sounds. The translator picked up fragments about the Calm Ones and Children of the Void. Jake noticed the alien's strange behavior. Commander, is there something we should know about this planet? Some kind of hazard we're not detecting? The hazard is the war itself, Dexhai replied. The weapons that tear reality, the screams of the dying that echo across the valleys, the knowledge that death waits behind every piece of debris. Ben shrugged. Yeah, war zones are pretty unpleasant. But you adapt. The Zephyrian commander stared at him. Adapt to this? Lisa was taking readings of the local plant life. Actually, the ecosystem is quite fascinating. It seems to have evolved to absorb and process the energy from weapons fire. Very efficient adaptation. Commander Dexhai's translator struggled with alien words that seemed to express concepts of horror and disbelief. You find beauty in corruption? You heal wounds in a place meant for death. You speak of adaptation to hell itself. As evening approached, the humans prepared their camp for the night. They set up a rotation for watch duty, prepared a simple meal from their supplies, and made their sleeping areas comfortable. The sounds of distant battle continued, with flashes of light illuminating the horizon. Commander Dexhai and his people huddled together near the human camp, clearly terrified to be alone in the darkness. They jumped at every sound, whispered prayers to their gods, and constantly scanned the shadows for threats. Jake approached the alien commander. You and your people are welcome to stay near our camp tonight. We have enough firepower to defend. This position, you would protect us? Dexhai asked. Of course, we're all stuck here together. As the night deepened, the Zephyrians watched in amazement as the humans settled down to sleep. Ben took first watch, sitting calmly with his rifle across his lap while reading a book by lamplight. The others made themselves comfortable in their sleeping bags, talking quietly about repairs and supply rationing. Commander Dexhai could not understand what he was seeing. How do you sleep? The death world speaks in the darkness. The spirits of the fallen cry out. Ryan yawned and adjusted his pillow. White noise helps me sleep, actually, kind of like rain on a roof. Rain on a roof, Dexhai repeated slowly. You compare the sounds of eternal war to rain on a roof. Dr. Turner was already half asleep. Good night, Commander. Wake us if you need anything. The alien commander stood guard with his people through the night. watching the humans sleep peacefully while the war raged around them in the distance. Explosions lit up the sky and alien weapons carved lines of fire through the darkness, but the humans from Earth slept soundly, dreaming of home while the galaxy's most feared battlefield provided them with nothing more than background noise. A week had passed since the crash, and the human camp had transformed into something that looked almost comfortable. Kate had rigged up a power system using parts from the ship and some alien technology they had found in the wreckage around them. Solar panels made from salvaged materials provided steady electricity during the day, while a small fusion cell kept essential systems running at night. Ryan had spent his time mapping the battlefield, marking safe routes through the debris fields, and noting the patterns of the alien conflicts. He had created a detailed chart showing when and where the heaviest fighting usually occurred, treating it like a weather report. Emma had made significant progress with the alien languages. She could now understand basic conversations in both Zephyrian and what appeared to be the language of their enemies. The translation computer had learned enough to provide real-time interpretation of most communications. Commander HFY and his people had become permanent residents of the area around the human camp. They still jumped at loud noises and whispered prayers during the night, but they had stopped trying to convince the humans to flee. On the 8th day, a new group approached the camp. These aliens were very different from the Zephyrians. They were shorter and broader, with dark red skin that looked like it was made of stone. Their armor was heavier and more aggressive-looking, with sharp edges and glowing symbols. Ben spotted them first through his binoculars. "Captain, we've got company. About 15 hostiles approaching from the south. They're armed and they look like they mean business." Jake took a look through the binoculars. "Those aren't Zephyrians. Must be from the other side." Commander HFY became extremely agitated when he saw the approaching group. "Krillians," War Singer Velther leads them. "We must run or prepare to die." "Easy there, Commander," Jake said calmly. "Let's see what they want first." The Krillian leader approached the camp with his weapon lowered but ready. When he spoke, his voice was deep and harsh like grinding stone. Emma's translator worked quickly to convert his words. "I am War Singer Velther of the Krillian Collective. We have heard strange reports of calm speakers who walk without fear in the sacred battleground. We come to see if these reports are true." Jake stepped forward to meet him. "I'm Captain Morrison. We're explorers from Earth. Our ship crashed here, and we're working on repairs." War Singer Velther studied Jake with glowing red eyes. "You stand before a war singer of the collective without showing proper battle readiness. Do you not understand the honor of this meeting?" "I understand you're a military leader," Jake replied. "I'm showing you the respect I'd show any officer." The Krillian leader seemed confused by this response. "Your heart rhythm is steady. Your breathing is calm. My people are bred for war, taught to find glory in battle, yet even we feel the weight of this cursed world. How do you remain unmoved?" Dr. Turner approached with his medical kit. "Some of your people look injured. Mind if I take a look?" War Singer Velther stepped back in surprise. "You would offer healing to enemy warriors?" "I'm a doctor. I heal people. That's what I do." "But we are the enemy of these Zephyrians who shelter in your camp." Dr. Turner shrugged. "So? You're all hurt. You're all stuck here, and you all bleed the same color. Politics isn't really my department." The war singer watched in amazement as Dr. Turner began examining wounded Krillian soldiers. "In my culture, healing an enemy shows weakness. It dishonors the glory of battle. Where I come from, letting people suffer when you can help them is just cruel." Alex replied while cleaning a burn wound on a Krillian's arm. Lisa had been studying the new arrivals with her scanner. "Interesting. Your people have different stress responses than the Zephyrians. You seem to process combat differently." War Singer Velther nodded. "We are the children of the war worlds. Battle is our prayer, combat our worship. Yet even we find this place ... challenging." "How so?" Lisa asked, genuinely curious. "The weapons used here tear at reality itself. The energy discharges create wounds in space. The very air screams with the voices of the dead. This is not honorable battle, this is chaos given form. Emma looked up from her communication station. I'm picking up reports from both sides. Sounds like there's a major engagement building up about 50 kilometers north of here. Commander HFY began to tremble again. The great battle comes again. The one that shakes the ground and turns the sky to fire. Warsinger Velther nodded grimly. Yes, the weapons that eat light will be used, the reality-tearing cannons will fire. The death song will echo across the world. Jake checked his watch. How long do these big battles usually last? Sometimes days, HFY replied, sometimes weeks. The longest lasted 47 days without pause. 47 days of continuous fighting, Jake repeated. That's got to be hard on supply lines. Both alien leaders stared at him. Warsinger Velther was the first to speak. You ask about supplies during the apocalypse? Well, armies need food, ammunition, medical supplies, replacement parts, Jake said. 47 days of fighting means somebody's got a really good logistics system. Kate looked up from her work on a power coupling. Actually, that's a good point. If they're fighting continuously for that long, they must have supply depots somewhere. We might be able to trade for materials we need. Commander HFY's translator struggled with concepts that seemed to express complete disbelief. You speak of trade in the Death Realm? During the time of Screaming Stars. Why not? Kate asked. We've got medical supplies, technical expertise, and from what I can see, both sides could use help with equipment maintenance. Warsinger Velther sat down heavily, his weapon forgotten. I have fought in the sacred battles of 17 worlds. I have led the war songs of 10,000 warriors. I have seen the face of glorious death and embraced it. But I do not understand you. Dr. Turner finished treating the last wounded Krillian. There you go. Keep those bandages clean and try not to reopen the wounds for a few days. The Krillian soldier looked at his treated injuries with wonder. You have given me healing without asking for battle honor in return? No charge, Alex said. Just try not to get shot in the same place twice. As the sun began to set, the distant battle that both alien leaders had feared began to show on the horizon. Massive explosions lit up the sky in colors that had no names. Energy weapons created streaks of light that seemed to tear holes in the air itself. The ground shook with each impact. The aliens from both sides huddled together, former enemies, united in their terror of the cosmic violence taking place around them. They whispered prayers and gripped their weapons with trembling hands. The humans watched the light show with interest. Lisa took readings of the energy signatures. Emma monitored the communications chatter. Ryan updated his tactical maps with the new battle positions. Pretty impressive firepower, Ben observed, settling down for his watch duty. The energy output is fascinating, Lisa added. I've never seen weapons that can actually distort local space-time. Jake yawned and prepared for sleep. Well, at least it's far enough away that we don't have to worry about stray shots. The aliens watched in silent amazement as the humans settled down for another peaceful night's sleep while the galaxy's most feared battlefield exploded in cosmic fury around them. A month had passed since the crash, and the human camp had become something no one expected. It was now a neutral meeting ground where Zephyrians and Krillians could come for medical treatment, equipment repairs, and trade. Jake had established simple rules that everyone followed. No fighting within a kilometer of the camp, no weapons pointed at each other during negotiations, and everyone helped with defense if the camp was attacked. The humans had proven surprisingly useful to both sides. Dr. Turner had treated hundreds of wounded aliens. Kate had repaired damaged equipment using techniques neither side had seen before, and Emma had become the unofficial translator for peace talks between the two factions. Commander HFY had brought more survivors to the camp over the weeks. They now numbered nearly 50 Zephyrians who had made crude shelters near the human base. Warsinger Velther had done the same, leading almost 40 Krillians to the area. The two groups still glared at each other, but the constant presence of the calmly working humans seemed to keep tensions manageable. On the morning of the 32nd day, Everything changed. Emma was monitoring communications when she picked up urgent chatter from both sides. Captain, I'm getting reports of a massive offensive building up. Both factions are moving their heavy weapons toward this sector. Jake looked up from his inventory reports. How close? Close enough to matter. Looks like they're going to fight. Right on top of us. Commander HFY rushed over when he heard the news. The great convergence comes. The final battle for the southern ridge. We must flee immediately. Warsinger Velther approached from the other side of the camp. The war leaders have chosen this ground for the decisive engagement. The reality breakers will be deployed. Even we cannot remain here. Jake studied the tactical display Ryan had created. How long do we have? 6 hours, Emma replied. Maybe. That's not enough time to move all our equipment, Kate said. The ship repairs are at a critical stage. Ben was already checking their defensive positions. We've got good cover and established fields of fire. We can hold this position if we have to. Both alien leaders stared at him in shock. Commander. The HFY's translator worked frantically. You speak of defense during the time of cosmic destruction. The weapons that will be used can break apart atoms. The energy shields can melt mountains. Sounds nasty, Ben replied. But we've got a job to do here. Warsinger Velther stepped closer to Jake. Human leader, you do not understand. This will not be like the small battles you have witnessed. The void cannons will be fired. The space-tearing missiles will fall like rain. The very air will burn. Jake considered their options. What if we declared this area a medical zone, neutral ground for treating wounded? The war leaders care nothing for such declarations, HFY said. When the battle madness takes hold, there is no mercy, no restraint. Dr. Turner looked up from his medical supplies. Well, I'm not leaving. Too many wounded are going to need help. I'm staying too, Kate said. The ship won't repair itself. One by one, the other humans made the same decision. They had work to do, and they weren't going to abandon it because of a battle. The aliens from both sides began to evacuate, but many were too wounded to travel. About 20 Zephyrians and 15 Krillians remained, either unable to leave or unwilling to abandon the humans who had helped them. As the first enemy formations appeared on the horizon, Jake made final preparations. Ben, defensive positions. Kate, emergency power only. Emma, monitor all channels. Lisa, pack up the sensitive equipment. The battle began at midday with an artillery barrage that shook the ground for kilometers around. The humans took cover in their reinforced positions while energy blasts lit up the sky above them. The aliens huddled in their makeshift shelters, praying to their gods, and expecting to die. And next became legend among both species. The first direct attack came from a Krillian strike force that didn't recognize the camp as neutral. Ground energy weapons fired at the human positions, and the humans fired back with calm precision. Ben coordinated the defense while making casual conversation about baseball scores from Earth. 2 o'clock, energy rifle team, he called out to Ryan. Take them down, but watch for friendlies behind them. Ryan lined up his shot carefully. Got him. Nice shot pattern, by the way. Very professional. Kate had rigged explosive charges from cooking supplies and maintenance chemicals. When a Zephyrian hover tank approached their perimeter, she detonated the charges with the same casual efficiency she showed fixing electrical systems. That should slow them down, she said, already preparing the next set of charges. Dr. Turner continued treating wounded aliens throughout the firefight. A Krillian soldier with a chest wound was brought to his medical station while energy blasts lit up the area around them. Alex worked with steady hands, making small talk about human medicine while laser fire scorched the air above his head. This might sting a little, he told the wounded soldier while a massive explosion shook the ground nearby. By the way, your people have fascinating cardiovascular systems. Emma maintained communications with both sides, trying to coordinate safe passage for medical evacuations. Zephyrian Command, this is Neutral Medical Station. We have wounded Krillians who need transport to your rear area. Can you provide safe passage? The aliens watching from their shelters could not believe what they were seeing. The humans fought. With the same relaxed competence they showed doing routine maintenance. They took cover when necessary, returned fire when attacked, and continued their normal conversations throughout the battle. Lisa had packed most of her equipment, but she couldn't resist taking readings of the exotic weapons being used around. The energy signatures are incredible. These weapons actually manipulate local space-time. Jake coordinated the overall defense while reviewing supply lists. Ben, we're running low on ammunition for the north position. Kate, how's our power holding up? We're good for another 6 hours, Kate replied, ducking as a stray energy blast passed overhead. The fusion cell is running smooth. The battle raged around them for 8 hours. Massive weapons that could destroy cities were fired over their heads. Reality-tearing missiles exploded in the distance. The very air seemed to catch fire as the two alien armies threw everything they had at each other, through it all. The humans maintained their position, treated wounded from both sides, and continued their ship repairs. When a Zephyrian war leader demanded to know why they weren't fleeing, Jake replied that they had a schedule to keep. When the battle finally ended at sunset, both alien armies had fought themselves to exhaustion. The humans emerged from their positions and immediately began searching for wounded survivors. The aliens from both sides watched in stunned silence as the human medical team worked to save lives among the wreckage. That night, as Jake wrote his daily log entry, he noted, "Local conflict caused minor delays in repair schedule. No serious injuries among crew. Weather continues favorable for outside work." The aliens began to whisper about the death spawn who walked calmly through cosmic fire and treated planetary war as a minor inconvenience. 2 months had passed since the crash, and the human camp had become the most important location on Zarian Prime. Word had spread throughout both armies about the neutral zone where the strange aliens from the Death World provided healing and shelter. Wounded soldiers from across the planet made pilgrimages to the camp, hoping to receive treatment from the comm speakers who showed no fear. The camp itself had grown into a small town. Kate had built permanent structures using salvage materials and alien technology. Solar collectors powered workshops, medical facilities, and communication centers. Ryan had established regular supply routes with both armies, trading human expertise for materials and food. Dr. Turner had treated over 1,000 patients from dozens of different species. His medical tent had become a permanent hospital where former enemies worked together to help the wounded. Emma had compiled the first complete dictionary of both alien languages and was teaching communication classes to reduce misunderstandings between the factions. Commander Thexai had become something like a mayor for the Zephyrian refugees, while Warsinger Velther served a similar role for the Krillians. Both leaders spent most of their time trying to understand the humans rather than fighting each other. On the morning of the 68th day, Lisa made a discovery that changed everything. She had been studying the local ecosystem, collecting samples of plants and soil from around the battlefield. Her portable laboratory was filled with specimens that she found fascinating and the aliens found horrifying. The plants had evolved to feed on weapons fire, the soil was enriched with exotic particles, and even the insects had adapted to the constant violence. "This is incredible," Lisa said, showing her latest findings to Jake. "The life forms here have evolved to thrive in conditions that would kill most known species." "But it's not just adaptation to warfare." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. "These, organisms show genetic markers for extremely rapid evolution. The kind of changes that usually take millions of years have happened here in just a few generations. It's like they learned to evolve faster because they had to." Emma looked up from her language studies. "That reminds me of something. Both alien cultures have words that don't translate well. They keep talking about death worlds and void-spawned creatures." Commander Thexai overheard their conversation and approached slowly. "You speak of the Forbidden's knowledge. The truth that makes species tremble across the galaxy. What Forbidden's knowledge?" Lisa asked. Warsinger Velther joined them, his expression unusually serious. "The knowledge of the nightmare worlds. The planets where life learns to survive what should destroy it. Jake sat down, sensing this was important. Tell us about these death worlds. Commander HFY and War Singer Velther exchanged glances, then began to speak in turn. Their translators worked to convey concepts that seemed to horrify both aliens. In the galaxy there are worlds where life is gentle, HFY began. Worlds where the greatest danger is a storm that brings too much rain, where predators are small and easily avoided, where diseases are mild and quickly cured. Most species evolve on such worlds, Velther continued. They learn cooperation, art, philosophy. They develop technology slowly and carefully. When they reach the stars, they find the galaxy welcoming. Oh, but then there are the nightmare worlds, HFY said, his voice dropping. Worlds where the very ground tries to kill you, where storms can level mountains, where the smallest creatures carry death in their bite. Worlds where earthquakes split continents, Velther added, where volcanoes burn the sky, where ice ages come without warning and last for thousands of years. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. You're talking about Earth, both aliens stared at her. You know of such a world? We're from such a world, Jake said quietly. The silence that followed was broken only by the distant sounds of battle. Other aliens in the camp had gathered around to listen, and now they all stared at the humans with new understanding. Dr. Turner looked up from his medical work. What's the big deal? Every planet has natural disasters. Commander HFY's translator struggled with words that expressed cosmic horror. Natural disasters? You call them natural? Your world tried to kill you for millions of years, and you call it natural? Well, yeah, Alex replied. Hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanoes, ice ages, that's just how planets work. War Singer Velther sat down heavily. On my world, the worst storm brings wind that might knock down trees. On your world, storms can destroy entire cities? Category 5 hurricanes can definitely wreck a city, Ryan confirmed. But people rebuild. That's what we do. Emma had been researching the alien databases through their communication systems. I'm finding references to other Deathworld species in the galactic records. They're all considered extremely dangerous. Because they survive what should not be survived, HFY said. They evolve in hell and call it home. Lisa was making connections between her research and what the aliens were telling them. That explains the rapid evolution here on Zarian Prime. The constant warfare has created selection, pressure similar to what Earth species face naturally. Your people evolved dodging meteors and fleeing volcanoes, Velther said. For you, energy weapons and reality-tearing missiles are just another kind of natural disaster. Jake began to understand why the aliens found them so disturbing. You're saying most species never had to deal with existential threats during their evolution? Most species evolve in paradise compared to your world, HFY confirmed. They learn to live in harmony with their environment because their environment allows it. But Earth never allowed it, Lisa said. So humans learn to adapt to anything. Dr. Turner continued working while talking. Makes sense. You can't be afraid of every little thing when your planet's constantly trying to kill you. You just deal with problems as they come up. Ben was listening from his guard post. So when we crashed in a war zone, we treated it like any other emergency. Because we've been dealing with emergencies our entire evolutionary history. While we, Commander HFY said softly, have been dealing with emergencies for only 3 years, and it has nearly broken us. Kate looked up from her repair work. That's why you all seem so traumatized by stuff that doesn't bother us much. Your species never had to develop the mental tools for constant crisis management. Emma received a priority transmission on her communication system. Captain, I'm getting a message from Earth Command. A rescue fleet is on its way, but they won't arrive for another 6 months. Jake nodded and made a note in his log. Acknowledge the message. Tell them we're fine and continuing our mission. The alien stared at him. War Singer Velther spoke first. You receive news that rescue is distant and your heart rhythm does not change. You show the same calm as when discussing the weather. Well, 6 months isn't that long, Jake replied. We've got plenty to keep us busy here. Commander HFY turned to his people and spoke in rapid clicks and whistles. The translator picked up fragments about the children of the void world and the ones who cannot be broken. That night, as the humans settled down for sleep with the sounds of distant battle providing their usual background noise, the aliens watched them with new understanding. These were not just strange visitors who happened to be brave. These were the products of a world so hostile that constant warfare seemed peaceful by comparison. The Deathworlders slept calmly because they had never known any other way to live. 6 months after the crash, the rescue fleet arrived to find something no one had expected. The human settlement had grown into a proper town with permanent buildings, established trade routes, and diplomatic facilities. The New Horizons sat in the center like a monument, fully repaired but surrounded by structures that suggested the humans had no intention of leaving anytime soon. Admiral Patricia Cruz stepped off the lead ship with a team of officers and immediately noticed the alien delegations waiting to greet them. Zephyrians and Krillians stood side by side, wearing formal diplomatic clothing instead of battle armor. Both groups carried gifts and appeared to be competing for the honor of welcoming the new arrivals. Jake met the Admiral at the landing pad, looking relaxed and well-rested despite spending half a year in a war zone. "Welcome to Zarium Prime. Admiral, hope your flight was smooth." Admiral Cruz looked around at the bustling settlement. "Captain Morrison, I was expecting to find survivors in need of emergency evacuation. This looks more like a colonial outpost." "Well, once we got the ship fixed, there was no rush to leave," Jake replied. "We've been making good progress on our survey mission." The Admiral followed Jake through the settlement, observing the organized chaos of a working town. Humans and aliens moved through the streets together, conducting business and sharing meals. Construction crews worked on new buildings while medical teams treated patients from across the galaxy. "Captain, according to our intelligence reports, this planet has been an active war zone for over 3 years. Our strategic analysts classified it as unsurvivable for extended human habitation." Kate approached from one of the workshops, covered in grease but smiling. "Admiral Cruz, I'm Chief Engineer Sullivan." The strategic analysts probably didn't account for proper infrastructure development. "Infrastructure development?" the Admiral repeated. "Power grid, water purification, waste management, communication networks," Kate listed. "Once you get the basics set up, any place becomes livable." Dr. Turner emerged from the hospital, still wearing surgical gloves. "Admiral, good to see you. I hope you brought medical supplies. We're treating about 200 patients a day now." Admiral Cruz was struggling to process what she was seeing. "Dr. Turner, you've been performing surgery in a combat zone for 6 months?" "Combat zone's a bit of an exaggeration now," Alex replied. "Most of the heavy fighting moved to other sectors once we established the neutral zone here." Emma joined them, carrying data tablets filled with her linguistic research. "Admiral, I've compiled the first comprehensive study of Zephyrian and Krillian languages. Both cultures have incredibly complex philosophical traditions." "You've been conducting anthropological research?" Admiral Cruz asked. "Well, we had time," Emma said. "Might as well learn something while we were here." Commander HFY approached the group with War Singer Velther beside him. Both aliens had been decorated with new honors and carried themselves with more confidence than they had shown in months. "Admiral Cruz of the Deathworld Fleet," HFY said through the translator. "We welcome you to the sanctuary of the Calm Speakers." War Singer Velther nodded agreement. "The Void Spawn have brought peace to the cursed ground. We offer our honors to their war leader." Admiral Cruz looked confused. "Deathworld Fleet? Void Spawn?" Jake scratched his head. "They have some interesting theories about Earth. I'll explain later." The Admiral continued her tour, becoming more bewildered with each stop. She visited Lisa's research laboratory, where the scientist had cataloged hundreds of species that thrived in high-energy environments. She saw Ben's security office, where he coordinated peacekeeping efforts between former enemies. She toured Ryan's logistics center, where supply runs to both alien armies were scheduled like bus routes. This is unprecedented, Admiral Cruz finally sighed. You've essentially established a functioning city-state in the middle of an alien war. It wasn't really planned, Jake admitted. We just dealt with problems as they came up. The Admiral met with both alien delegations separately. Commander HFY spoke of the humans with reverence that bordered on worship. They walk without fear where fear should consume all thought, he said. They heal wounds while reality burns around them. They speak of terrible things as if they were gentle rain. War singer Velther described the humans in terms that his translator struggled to convey. They are the children of a world that should not produce life. They have survived what destroys souls. They bring calm to chaos itself. Both leaders made the same request. They wanted the humans to stay and help negotiate a permanent peace between their peoples. Our war has lasted 3 years, Commander HFY explained. But in 6 months under human guidance, we have learned more about cooperation than in 3 centuries of separate development. The Void Spawn understand peace through strength, War Singer Velther added. They show us how to be warriors without being enemies. Admiral Cruz met with Jake privately that evening to discuss the situation. Captain, I have orders to evacuate your crew and continue our exploration mission in the Kepler system. Jake nodded. Understood, Admiral. The crew is ready to depart whenever you give the order. But both alien factions are requesting that Earth establish a permanent presence here. They're offering significant territorial concessions and technology sharing agreements. That would be a matter for the diplomatic corps, Jake replied. We're just survey specialists. Admiral Cruz studied the daily reports Jake had been filing. According to your logs, you've treated this entire experience as a routine mission with minor complications. Pretty much, Jake confirmed. Alien contact. Medical diplomacy, infrastructure development, peacekeeping operations, all standard stuff for a survey mission? Standard stuff? The Admiral repeated. Captain, most of our diplomatic first contact protocols are based on controlled meetings. In neutral space. You've established peaceful relations with 2 warring civilizations while stranded on their battlefield? Jake shrugged. We had good people and we made the best of a bad situation. The next morning, the human crew prepared to depart with efficient professionalism. They packed their personal belongings, transferred medical and research data to the rescue fleet, and said goodbye to the aliens who had become their friends. Dr. Turner left detailed medical protocols with the alien healers. Kate provided maintenance manuals for all the equipment she had built. Emma gave language instruction materials to both diplomatic teams. Lisa donated her research specimens to establish the planet's first proper scientific institute. As the human ships prepared to launch, hundreds of aliens gathered to watch the departure. They stood together, former enemies united in their awe of the beings who had slept peacefully while their world burned around them. Jake filed his final mission report. As they left orbit, survey mission Kepler 442 completed successfully. Minor delays due to equipment failure. Established productive contact with 2 local civilizations. Planetary environment suitable for future diplomatic outposts. Weather conditions favorable throughout stay. Recommend standard follow-up protocols. The aliens watched the human ships disappear into hyperspace, then returned to the work of building peace on a world where war had once seemed eternal. In their histories, they would remember the time when the Deathworlders came and taught them that even the worst violence was just another problem to solve. The humans flew on to their next survey mission, already planning their approach to the next star system, treating their galaxy-changing diplomatic success as just another completed work assignment.